The room feels ordinary, almost forgettable, filled with people absorbed in their own small worlds. Phones glow softly as thumbs scroll, quiet laughter floats through the air, and time moves without urgency. Nothing feels dangerous, and nothing feels openly wrong. That is how racism often enters a space, not with shouting or violence, but with comfort. It hides inside jokes that sound harmless and glances that last just a second too long. It survives because silence feels easier than speaking. You may have seen moments like this before without realizing their weight. Maybe you were nearby, pretending not to hear, or convincing yourself it was not serious. Maybe you even laughed to avoid discomfort, telling yourself it meant nothing. But the most damaging racism is rarely obvious or extreme. It is the kind people excuse, defend, or ignore. It is the kind that passes through a room unnoticed, and that makes it powerful. This story does not begin with anger or hatred. It begins with normalcy, with an everyday place and an unremarkable moment. A single comment slips into the air so casually that most people forget it quickly. But for the person it targets, the moment does not fade. It follows them home and echoes in quiet hours. Racism often waits for permission to exist. Silence gives it that permission. Before this story ends, you will hear words many people wish they had spoken sooner. You will see reactions rooted not in rage, but in honesty. One choice will quietly shift how an entire room understands itself. This is not a story meant to accuse or shame. It exists to reveal what comfort often hides. Because racism survives not only through hatred, but through indifference. Maybe you believe you would speak up if you've ever witnessed something like this. Maybe you are confident you already understand racism deeply. Or maybe you are unsure, wondering how you would react in the moment. That uncertainty is exactly why this story matters. The people in this room did not think they were part of the problem either. They believed they were just bystanders, till they realized how close they were to changing everything. The day itself felt unimportant, like so many others before it. People moved on autopilot, passing through the space without paying attention to faces. The room was full, yet oddly quiet beneath the surface. Phones buzzed, someone laughed softly, and someone complained about the weather. Nothing seemed worth remembering later. It felt safe in its forgettable rhythm. Among the crowd sat a man who blended in easily. He was not loud, not anxious, and not seeking attention. He moved like someone used to being unseen. He adjusted his bag and stared forward, already tired though the day had barely begun. Around him were strangers with different lives and stories. For this moment, they shared the same space. Across the room, a small group chatted casually. Their conversation drifted from work to news and then to jokes. With each sentence, the humor grew sharper. No one appeared uncomfortable at first. The tone felt familiar and relaxed. These moments rarely start with hostility. They begin with comfort. The man noticed a glance, then another. He chose not to react because experience had taught him caution. Years of subtle looks had trained him to recognize quiet judgment. Ignoring it felt easier than explaining himself. Easier than defending his right to exist. Silence had become a survival skill. Then a comment floated through the room. It was not shouted or aggressive, and it arrived wrapped in laughter. It was the kind of sentence easily defended as humor. A few people smiled, and one laughed, louder than the rest. Others stayed silent, pretending not to hear. The room accepted it without pause. The man felt it instantly in his chest. A familiar tension rose, followed by heat behind his eyes. He stared straight ahead, hoping the moment would pass. For everyone else, it probably already had. Moments like this always disappeared quickly. At least they did for people not targeted. What hurt most was not the comment itself. It was how normal everything felt afterward. No one spoke up, and nothing slowed down. Life continued as if nothing had happened. A line had been crossed without consequence. Silence settled heavily into the room. The laughter faded, but the weight remained. The man shifted slightly, telling himself not to overthink it. He reminded himself he had heard worse before, told himself reacting would only make things awkward. But the ease of it all disturbed him. The comfort made it worse. He glanced around carefully this time. A woman avoided his eyes, and a man stared at his phone too intently. Another person smirked briefly before correcting their expression. No one looked at him directly. That avoidance felt deliberate, felt like a choice. The conversation continued as if nothing had happened. Another remark followed, softer, but still pointed. Fewer people laughed this time, but no one challenged it. Inside him, a debate began to grow louder. Should he speak or let it go again? Experience warned him that speaking often backfired. He knew how this usually went. Suddenly he would be labeled too sensitive or dramatic. He would become the problem instead of the comment. So he stayed quiet. But silence always demanded payment. Every second, the weight grew heavier. Agreement lived in the absence of response. Someone nearby shifted uncomfortably, and he noticed. For a moment, hope sparked inside him. At least someone else felt it too. But discomfort without action changes nothing. The group laughed again about something else. For them, the moment had ended. For him, it had only begun. He replayed the words again and again. Each repetition revealed more than ignorance. It revealed confidence built on never being challenged. This was not about a single joke. It was about permission. Time passed, yet the room felt altered. Most people did not notice the difference. For him, the air felt heavier. His thoughts were louder than the conversations around him. He wondered how many moments like this had passed unnoticed before. How many had been swallowed by silence. He tried to imagine what others were thinking. Maybe they were uncomfortable or afraid of conflict. Maybe they believed it was not their place. Those reasons felt human and understandable. They were also part of the problem. Silence protects the wrong people. The group eventually quieted, still relaxed and unaware. Their comfort felt unfair. He carried the weight alone, while they carried nothing. Remembered being younger and blaming himself. Over time, he learned better, but the pain remained. The sting never fully disappeared. Thought crossed his mind about support. If he spoke now, would anyone stand with him? The uncertainty felt exhausting. Across the room, someone met his eyes briefly. In that glance was recognition, not pity. That look stayed with him. Another comment came suddenly, quieter but sharper. It landed harder because silence had prepared the ground. His jaw tightened before his mind reacted. He turned slightly, knowing the words were meant for him. A few people noticed and looked away. No one spoke. In that moment, he understood the pattern clearly. This would keep happening unless someone interrupted it. The fear of speaking felt smaller than the cost of silence. He took a slow breath as the room seemed to shrink. His heartbeat filled the space. Then he spoke calmly. He did not raise his voice or make a scene. He asked a simple question about the meaning of the comment. The room froze instantly. The question demanded accountability without accusation. The speaker smiled nervously and called it a joke. The man said he wanted to understand it. Silence returned, heavier than before. Eyes shifted, and discomfort spread openly now. The comfort that protected the comment vanished. The man explained calmly why the words mattered. He spoke about memory and weight. The room listened. Someone spoke up in agreement. Another nodded quietly. The person who made the comment looked surprised and defensive. They said they had not meant it that way. The man replied that intention was part of the issue. It was no anger, only truth. Eventually, people returned to their routines. The room emptied and life continued, but something had changed beneath the surface. As the man prepared to leave, someone thanked him quietly. He nodded, believing next time would be different. Racism does not end because people hate it. It ends when people stop protecting it with silence. Change begins when comfort is interrupted. Speaking up does not require perfection. It requires presence and courage. Once you see it, you cannot unsee it. Once silence breaks, it never sounds the same again.